All missed. HYBE finally opens up about Jungkook's attitude that has been misunderstood. Over the years, BTS's Jungkook name has almost always coexisted with praise. Her talent is recognized across countries, her dedication is praised by industry seniors and juniors, and her influence goes beyond mere K-pop idol. But behind the sparkling spotlight, no less loud whispers appeared. Jungkook is often labeled cold, too quiet, even arrogant by some netizens who feel he has changed since BTS was on top of the world. The accusations keep rolling in, forming wild opinions that never seem to get an official answer. Finally, HYBE spoke up. Statements made by the agency immediately became widespread attention. Not only because HYBE rarely responds to the issue of the artist's personal attitude openly, but also because what they reveal is inversely proportional to the accusations that have been circulating. In his clarification, HYBE emphasized that Jungkook's attitude that is often misunderstood by the public has never been separated from his personality, which from the beginning was closed, reflective, and very careful in behaving in public spaces. According to HYBE, Jungkook is not the type of individual who feels the need to prove anything through excessive words or gestures. Since his trainee days, he was known as a figure who preferred to work in silence, listen more than talk, and show his feelings through actions. When BTS's popularity skyrocketed, this attitude actually got stronger, not because of changes in character, but because of a greater sense of responsibility. The agency revealed that Jungkook was well aware of the influence of his every move. One small expression can be misinterpreted, one sentence can be twisted, and one spontaneous reaction can become the subject of global debate. In such conditions, choosing to be more calm and restrained is not a form of arrogance, but rather a protective mechanism. Jungkook often thinks about the long-term impact rather than the momentary satisfaction of being in front of the camera. HYBE also highlighted that many moments were cut from their original context. Short video footage, photos without narration, or interview snippets often form the impression that Jungkook is keeping his distance from others. In fact, in everyday life that is not exposed to the camera, he is known to be warm, attentive, and very concerned about the surrounding environment. Internal staff colleagues, according to the agency, often watch Jungkook greet first, apologize if he feels impolite, and make sure everyone feels comfortable around him. HYBE's statement is in line with the confession of several BTS members before. Jimin, RM, until Suga once mentioned that Jungkook is the type who harbors a lot of things alone. He rarely complains, rarely expresses fatigue, and prefers to resolve his own emotional burden. When the public sees him silent, it does not mean he is indifferent, but rather is arranging his thoughts. The issue of Jungkook's coldness is amplified when he is rarely active on social media or doesn't react much at big events. But HYBE explained that Jungkook consciously limited his presence in the digital space for the sake of mental health. The pressure of expectation as a global star at a young age is not light. By keeping a certain distance, Jungkook tries to remain himself, not a version shaped by public demands. Interestingly, HYBE also alludes to the role of Jungkook's family and past in shaping his character. From his debut at a very young age, Jungkook assumed great responsibility, not just as an artist, but as a child and the backbone of the family. The habit of restraint, moderation, and focus on work has been ingrained for a long time. These values are what make him look mature, even seem too serious to some people. The Army's reaction to this clarification was mixed, but mostly showed relief. Many fans felt that what HYBE said finally validated what they had believed. That Jungkook did not turn into an arrogant figure, but grew into a more cautious person. That his calmness is not a distance, but a form of maturity. On the other hand, this statement is also a reflection for the public about how idols are often forced to meet inhuman expectations. Jungkook seems to be required to always be friendly, always smiling, always responsive, without considering that he is also a human being with emotional limits. HYBE emphasizes that artists should not be judged only by the cut of the moment, but rather from a consistent long journey. Ultimately, this clarification is not just a defense of Jungkook, but also a broader message. that calmness is not synonymous with arrogance, that being silent does not mean not caring, and that keeping your distance does not mean degrading others. In the fast-paced and demanding world of entertainment, Jungkook chooses a quiet but stable path. With HYBE's voice finally heard, many riddles were answered. Jungkook's attitude, which has been debated, is rooted in responsibility, prudence, and maturity that are rarely possessed at a young age. He does not seek the spotlight through controversy or dramatic gestures. He chose to speak through work, consistency, and integrity, and perhaps therein lies Jungkook's true strength. Not on how loudly he spoke, but on the calm that remained in the midst of a storm of opinions. A calm that now, after this official explanation, is finally beginning to be understood. Continuing the narrative, HYBE's explanation also opens up a deeper discussion about how the public has always viewed Jungkook not as an individual, but as a symbol. When one has been in a position like Jungkook, every little gesture is often forced to represent something bigger: the image of the group, the ideal idol standard, even the expectations of a generation. In that context, HYBE considered that many misunderstandings arose not because of Jungkook's own actions, but because of the excessive expectations placed on him. The agency confirmed that Jungkook never had any intention of creating distance with fans or industry colleagues. On the contrary, he often feels worried if his response is considered insufficient or even too excessive. The fear of being misinterpreted makes him choose the safe path. Be calm, have a minimum of reactions, and focus on what he has the most control over, that is, the quality of the work. It is this attitude that some people mistakenly read as arrogance. HYBE also revealed that Jungkook is among the most hard-on-himself artists. He is known to be a perfectionist, often repeats exercises even when not asked, and often feels that he is not good enough despite receiving worldwide recognition. Under such conditions, it is natural that his emotional energy is poured more into internal processes than into external expressions. The public sees the end result, but rarely witnesses the struggle that takes place behind the scenes. Interestingly, this clarification also alludes to moments where Jungkook chooses to be silent when negative issues break out. For HYBE, Jungkook's silence is not a sign of justification, but a form of trust in time. He believed that the consistency of attitudes and works would ultimately speak louder than a brief rebuttal. This attitude does run the risk of being misunderstood, but Jungkook chose to take that risk in order to maintain the sincerity of his way of working done on several occasions. Internal staff even mentioned Jungkook as someone who easily feels guilty if he is considered to hurt others, even if unintentionally. He often reflects back on small interactions, questioning whether his speech is polite enough or his expression is friendly enough.